Accessing peace. Existing without violence, with the ability to calmly resolve conflict. Downloading love. An overwhelming, deep, positive affection towards others. Activating liberty. Living your life as you see fit without infringing on the lives of others.
Welcome to Peace, Love, Liberty Radio. Online at fppradio.com. I am your host, Darryl W. Perry, the Liberty Penguin, the Wombat, the uncut cocaine of libertarianism. And you know what day it is. That's right, it's the day that I answer your questions. You can send those to me via email, ama@fppradio.com, or if you want to maybe be anonymous or pseudo-anonymous, you can use the contact form on the website, ama.fppradio.com. And, you still have to input a name and an email address. But here's a secret. There's no requirement that you actually put your real name or your real email address. Shh, don't tell anybody. Again, ama@fppradio.com or online, ama.fppradio.com. So I've got 3 questions that are connected. And this is going to allow me to actually wind up going into sort of a broader discussion. And for anyone that might normally be listening to this show with their children, or with, and when I use the term children, I mean, in the medical sense, not the legal sense, because there's all kinds of weird ways that, various legal entities classify child, right? So for the purposes of attending school in most of the country, someone is legally a child until 18. Now, yes, I realize that there are some parts of the country where, someone who is somewhere between, say, 13 to 17 might wind up being able to sign themselves out of school and say, I'm not attending school anymore. But, vast areas of the country, nope, got to be 18 in order to leave school unless you get parental consent. And then for medical insurance, back several years ago, Barack Obama wound up changing the definition to where you're legally a child for the purposes of health insurance until you're 26 years old. So again, when I say child, I mean in that medical sense, as in someone who has not yet reached puberty. But could also mean a minor, someone under the age of 18 or 16, whatever the legal age of majority is where you live. If you don't want them, hearing about sex, then you might want to turn off the podcast. Now, I am going to, because the show does air on iHeartMedia, specifically it's available on the app. And one of the requirements for being available on the app is that the show has to be radio friendly, so I will be cognizant and sensitive about how I discuss this, but just know that this is a topic that not everybody wants all the members of their family listening to. With that in mind, let's get into the questions. Question number 1, and again, it's a 3-parter, but I will read these in order here. Question number 1, what makes a woman a whore? Question number 2, what makes a man a whore? Question number 3, can a man even be a whore? And you might be surprised to know, or maybe not, I will not give the name or any other identification about the person that asked the question, but it was one of my female listeners that sent in this question. So, to answer the question, let's turn to our friend, the dictionary. And yes, I know there are a lot of them, so I've consulted two of them, Oxford and Merriam-Webster. Yeah, these dictionaries have been around for a while, right? Well, luckily they're also online, which makes it fairly easy. Definition number 1 from Oxford Dictionary. A prostitute. Definition 1.1. A woman who has many sexual encounters or relationships. Question number 1.2. A person who is regarded as willing to do anything to get a particular thing. And then they give examples of a publicity whore or an attention whore. And these are the definitions under noun. There's also the verb definitions, such as, this guy likes to go whoring. Under the Merriam-Webster noun definition. Definition 1, a woman who engages in sexual acts for money, i.e., a prostitute. Definition number 2, a man who engages in sexual acts for money. Number 3, a venal or unscrupulous person. So, depending on the context of the use of the term, what makes someone a whore is, well, receiving money in exchange for sexual favors, or it could just be someone who is unscrupulous. There's the joke that I use the term joke there, tongue-in-cheek. But the question, what's the difference between a prostitute and a lawyer, or a prostitute and a politician? Prostitutes are upfront about what they're willing to do for money. So, you could say that a lot of politicians fit one of these definitions of whore, and it's not because they have sex for money. So, those are the definitions. And can a man be a whore? Absolutely. Now, let's talk about gender stereotypes, because that's really what this question boils down to. We'll dive into it here in moments on Peace, Love, and Liberty Radio.
In 2115 New England, there are no borders, no states, and no regulations, yet never has a more peaceful and prosperous place existed. But Mr. Drake's security company has seen better days. Faced with the prospect of waning power, Mr. Drake intends to replace the anarchy of New England with a government. But at what cost? Will anybody care? And can anyone stop him? Anarchy in New England by Joe Jarvis is available from Amazon.com and all major bookstores.
Are you tired of governments murdering people around the world? Stop using their money. There is an alternative. Bitcoin is a stateless, free market, non-political currency. Bitcoin cannot be inflated or controlled by any government. By using their money, you are helping the state. Stop doing it. You have an incredible alternative available now. Learn it, use it, spread it. Get started with Bitcoin at weusecoins.com. That's weusecoins.com.
You're listening to Peace, Love, Liberty Radio, online at fppradio.com.
Welcome back to Peace, Love, Liberty Radio, online at fppradio.com. I am your host, Darryl W. Perry, the Liberty Penguin, the Wombat, the uncut cocaine of libertarianism. And we're talking gender roles. Why? Why are we talking about gender roles and gender stereotypes? Well, because it's the Ask Me Anything. And there was a question. What makes a woman a whore? What makes a man a whore? Can a man even be a whore? I answered these questions in the first segment, but because, I like to dissect questions when I can, I notice there's, this sort of thing of double standards. And yes, double standards actually are a thing. So let's delve into gender norms and gender stereotypes. Now, I'm not going to talk about that gender can be a broad spectrum. Now, I will say, because I know that there's going to be that one person that sends me an email that says, if you have two X chromosomes, then you're a girl, and if you have an XY, then you're a boy. That's it. End of story. Science is over. Well, as the great football announcer Lee Corso would say, not so fast, my friend. What do I mean? Why do I say not so fast? Isn't it settled? XY means boy and two X's means girl? Well, no, not always. Not always. Now, I'm not going to talk about the way, some people believe that, they are a different gender than what their genitalia says. I'm going to talk about some of the people whose genitalia contradicts what their chromosomes say they quote-unquote should be. There's something called a 46XY female. Yes, you heard that right. An XY female. Meaning that the genes say that they should develop as a man. However, due to something not firing the way the genes believe they should, they actually develop as a female. And there have been professional athletes, Olympians even, who were 46XY female, meaning that their entire life they grew up believing that they were a woman. But then they had a genetics test, and, well, point of fact, no, you've got a Y chromosome. You should have competed with the men, even though they don't have the testosterone advantage that your average man is going to have over a female competitor. So they don't have a genetic advantage, but yet there were a couple of athletes who wound up being disqualified. I forget the names off the top of my head, but if you get a copy of the book, whether it be the physical book or the audio book of The Sports Gene, they go into detail of that. So, that said, let's get into gender stereotypes. There's a list of them from healthguidance.org, and let's break some of these down. And should there really be, quote-unquote, gender roles? That's a legitimate question. That's not a rhetorical question. So play along at home, answer accordingly. The article, it begins with several paragraphs, or a couple of paragraphs, and then goes into female gender stereotypes. I will pick up there. And as always, the link will be in the show notes. You can read at your leisure if you so choose. Gender stereotypes begin the second a baby's gender is found out. As soon as we find out it's a girl, we immediately begin decorating a pink nursery filled with soft decor and butterflies and flowers. We assume that our daughters will be very girly and fill her closet with frilly dresses and her toy box with tea sets and dolls. What this is essentially doing, even though many parents don't realize it, is setting their child up to be the perfect little lady and teaching her how to be the stereotypical woman. Society teaches girls that they're supposed to wear dresses, serve food, and take care of babies, the biggest and most common stereotype put on women. There's even, and this is me breaking in, there's even the stereotype that if a woman chooses not to have children, somehow she is, committing some sin against society, right? Not so much with men. To where, if a man says, oh no, I don't want children, then they're not going to be constantly pressured. Well, you never know, you might. Well, but, in a lot of ways, women that say, I don't want children are, oh, well, you just need to meet the right guy, and then you'll want to have a bunch of little children. So there's even stereotypes on what the, quote-unquote, typical family is supposed to look like, but that's not really so much a gender stereotype as a societal one at large. Getting down into some of the stereotypes that women are supposed to do, women are supposed to, and there's a fairly lengthy list here for women and men. I'm going to go through them, and as I do, I will give my thoughts. Women are supposed to have clean jobs, such as secretaries, teachers, and librarians. And there's even, the people that will wind up saying about the gender wage gap. They don't consider the fact that, more often than not, women do take these lower paying jobs of secretaries, teachers, librarians. Next up, women are supposed to be nurses, not doctors. Again, that calculates into that gender wage gap. Women are not as strong as men. The average woman, certainly not as strong as the average man, but there certainly are women stronger than I am, and I love it. Stay tuned. There's more here on Peace, Love, Liberty Radio, online at fppradio.com.
In 1999, Darryl W. Perry began a search for traditional values, which led him down a path to the ideas of liberty. He tells the story in A Rebel's Journey, My Path to Liberty. Of the book, Dr. Brian Sovereign says, sometimes it's funny, and sometimes I think it's crazy, but it's always authentic. Find A Rebel's Journey, My Path to Liberty by Darryl W. Perry on Facebook, read reviews on Amazon, ask for A Rebel's Journey wherever books are sold, or visit arebelsjourney.com.
It is the year 91,001 BCE. Witness humanity's origins in Hyperchronius, a classic role-playing game for Windows PCs, with a story like no other game before. A liberty-oriented experience that is not to be missed. Go to ZOG.Ninja to get your copy of Hyperchronius today. Use the code FPP to get $1 off. Hyperchronius, ZOG.Ninja, code FPP.
This is Jeremy Scott, host of Dark 30. You're listening to Peace, Love, Liberty Radio with Darryl W. Perry.
Hey, welcome back to Peace, Love, Liberty Radio, online at fppradio.com. Xena, Warrior Princess, Wonder Woman. Yes, I know they're both fake, but how about Ronda Rousey, Holly Holm, Beth Phoenix, Paige, Natty Neidhart? Yeah, those women legitimately strong and stronger than a lot of men. So they're definitely breaking those gender stereotypes of women not as strong as men. Women are supposed to make less money than men. And again, I've looked at this extensively on the, quote-unquote gender wage gap, and the statistics can be basically made to say whatever you want them to say. I forget who coined the phrase, there's lies, damned lies, and statistics. Women, according to the list here of gender stereotypes from healthguidance.org, women are the best at stay-at-home, or rather, the best women are stay-at-home moms. Women don't need to go to college. Women don't play sports. Women are not politicians. I disagree with all of these. I love watching female sports, especially when it's a sport that, women are very good at. Now, I'm not going to just, for the sake of watching women's rugby, watch women's rugby. But I do love watching women's gymnastics. I love watching the female diving competitions, the downhill skiing. And heck, with downhill skiing, they're in that full body thing. You can't tell if it's a man or a woman. I just like watching downhill skiing. There are other things, race car driving. You can't tell by looking at the car if the driver is a man or a woman. Continuing on here, they say women are quieter than men and not meant to speak out. Women are supposed to be submissive and do as they're told. Women are supposed to cook and do housework. Here's an idea. How about everybody cook and do housework? A lot of the top chefs in the world are actually men. So, yes, it's a stereotypical thing that women are in the kitchen. But men can also be really good in the kitchen. Women, they say here, are responsible for raising children. They do not have technical skills and are not good at hands-on projects such as car repairs, which one could then do. I forget what the math term is, to where basically you flip the statement around. There's a term for it. It's not the inverse, but, you flip it around. So somebody could say, women aren't good at car repair, so therefore anyone not good at car repair is a woman. Well, no, it just means they're not good at car repair. There are some women that are very good at car repair because they, have a knack for learning what goes where. And I look at an engine and I'm like, yep, lots of wires and belts and stuff. Yeah, that's basically my thoughts when I look inside an engine. I don't know what goes where. Like, I can identify the battery, and I know how to check and fill the oil and check and fill the tranny fluid and stuff like that. But as far as looking at something and being like, oh yeah, there's the alternator and there's this thing, nope, no clue. Doesn't mean I'm a woman, just means I don't know cars. Women, they say, are meant to be the damsel in distress, never the hero. But yet, the Hunger Games series, who was the hero in that? Yeah, that's right, it was a woman. Society does love strong women at times. They say women are supposed to look pretty and be looked at. Women love to sing and dance. Yeah, well, a lot of guys like to sing and dance. A lot of guys like to look pretty and be looked at. And I'm not just talking about gay guys. And I don't know if the term is still used, the metrosexuals. They say women don't play video games. Well, that's not true. There was the Gamergate debacle a couple of years ago. They say women are flirts and women are never in charge. Well, no, a lot of times women are in charge of things. And also, the women are flirt thing, that also sort of contradicts a lot of these sort of societal norms, if you will, to where women are not supposed to pursue. They're supposed to be the pursued. And a lot of times, I've been told that, no, women aren't actually flirting. They're just being nice. And there's a really funny YouTube video that I'll try to find the link on. It's Flirting Casually Explained. Or rather, the YouTube channel is Casually Explained, and then he's got a video about flirting. He's got one about, how to tell if she's into you. And it's things about, if you're a woman and you're not into the guy, then avoid blinking or avoid winking both eyes at the same time, which is basically blinking, because men will interpret almost anything as flirting, because a lot of times men just want to think that they're being flirted with. Now, let's delve into some of the stereotypes dealing with men. We'll do that in the closing moments here on Peace, Love, Liberty Radio, online at fppradio.com.
Cell 411 is a free app for Android and iOS that replaces government-controlled 911. Cell 411 allows you to preset a group of friends or private organizations to show up in any emergency. Cell 411 is a nightmare for the state because it proves their so-called services aren't needed. Cell 411 has had thousands of installs, and of course it's covered by the BIPCOT no government license. Cell 411 because your friends won't shoot you when you're in trouble. Without the government, who would build the emergency services? You and Cell 411. Get it today at getcell411.com. That's getcell411.com.
When you hear the word lobbyist, you probably think about greedy corporations, but not all lobbyists are the same. Some are fighting for the freedoms you hold dear. Liberty Lobby LLC is doing just that in New Hampshire, working hard to represent you, not some special interest group. You can help by going to libertylobby.info, where your contribution will give us the tools we need to ensure that your voice is heard. Visit libertylobby.info today to find out more.
You're listening to Peace, Love, Liberty Radio with Darryl W. Perry.
Welcome back to Peace, Love, Liberty Radio, online at fppradio.com. Going over a list of gender stereotypes. I'll get into the male stereotypes here in just a very brief moment. Try to go through some of these very quickly. As always, the link will be in the show notes. But before I delve into that, I want to make sure that I tell you about Roberts & Roberts Brokerage. Since 1977, that's 40 years, folks. Since 1977, Roberts & Roberts Brokerage has been a trusted source for buying and selling precious metals like gold and silver. And they take Bitcoin for precious metal purchases. And they've even permanently removed the minimum purchase amount for all orders paid in the digital currency. So call Roberts & Roberts Brokerage today for knowledgeable advice on buying and selling precious metals and a forward-thinking approach to new technologies. You heard that right. They'll buy and sell. So you want to get your hands on some gold and silver? Call Roberts & Roberts Brokerage. Maybe you've got some silver that you need to liquidate. For some reason, call Roberts & Roberts Brokerage, 800-874-9760. That's 800-874-9760, or visit them online at rrbi.co. That's rrbi.co. Let's go over some of the stereotypes of what the typical man is supposed to do, and I'll try to break these apart the same way I broke apart the female stereotypes. All men enjoy working on cars. No, not every man enjoys working on cars. Not every man understands all the way cars work. Some women like working on cars, so you can't say that that's a specifically male thing. They say men aren't supposed to be nurses, they're supposed to be doctors. But there are a lot of male nurses. They say men do dirty jobs such as construction and mechanics. They're not secretaries, teachers, or cosmetologists, but there are men that are secretaries, teachers, and cosmetologists. They say men don't do housework and they're not responsible for taking care of children. Well, no, I think that all parents should be involved in taking care of the children. Jumping down, they say men are lazy and messy. Well, could part of that be because they're told you're not supposed to do housework? Except for you take care of the outside. So, mow the grass, you can do that, but, any of the cleaning inside the house. But, wait a second. A lot of janitors are men. So, yes, men do know how to clean. There's just, differences of opinion of what constitutes a quote-unquote clean house. There's more here. As always, link will be in the show notes. And every Friday, I answer your questions. Send those over ama@fppradio.com.
The podcasts of FPP Radio are licensed under Copy Heart. We believe that copying is a form of flattery and do not abide by the copyright laws. Those laws serve to restrict the flow of ideas which no one can really own. Copying is an act of love. Love is not subject to law. If you enjoy the show, consider joining the Fans program and get perks like ad-free versions of Peace, Love, Liberty Radio and FPP Radio News, and also get a copy of the monthly newspaper FPP News. To learn more or to join the Fans program, visit fans.fppradio.com.